Picture a world where every single advertisement you see is relevant, something you would actually consider buying. Imagine turning on the TV, walking past a billboard, listening to the radio, or going online, and only seeing content that tailors itself based upon the data that you choose to share. That doesn't happen today, but it should in the future of advertising. I don't come from an advertising background. I've spent the majority of my career in corporate finance, and I'm a lean Six Sigma black belt, which basically means I'm a process expert and I really like math. To me, the future of advertising all comes down to relevance. Relevance has always been a challenge for the advertising industry. How to get the right ad in front of the right person in the right place at the right time. With digital advertising, we should now have the data and the technology to consistently deliver relevant ads. But all you have to do is go online for just a few minutes to realize that's not happening. There is this advertisement for shoes that keeps following me around online. It's extremely annoying. One, because I already bought the shoes. And two, because now they're showing up 50% off. Why is it that with all of this data and technology, we still see so many ads that are not relevant? As a math and process expert, that's what I wanted to know. Finance has undergone a similar digital evolution as the advertising industry, so it seemed like a good place to look for answers. Finance started its digital journey around 40 years ago with the creation of NASDAQ. We can now use vast amounts of data in real-time markets to conduct trades and better judge the value of a stock. In advertising, we can also now use vast amounts of data in real-time markets to conduct trades and better judge the value of an impression, or the value of showing an ad to a specific person at a specific time. However, despite these similarities, finance has experienced extreme growth over the past 50 years, roughly doubling as a percentage of GDP. On the contrary, advertising has remained roughly flat as a percentage of GDP for over a century. So, what have these two industries done differently? Well, among many other things, there is one distinct place where these two industries have evolved quite differently: the people. Finance has long embraced quantitative skills as a core requirement for their employees. There's been a mass hiring of mathematicians, statisticians, scientists, engineers for all positions involved in day-to-day strategic decisions. Advertising has not embraced quantitative skills to the same extent. There are fewer quant experts in advertising than in finance. And although advertising will always require creative people, it is becoming increasingly math-focused. And in fact, in many ways, digital advertising is even more complex than your typical stock market. Let me give you 4 examples. First, let's talk scale. In any given month, you can purchase roughly 3,000 stocks in NASDAQ. But in any given month, in one single US advertising network, you can purchase impressions for over 200 million people. That's a lot of valuations. Second, the current value of a stock is always the same to 2 different buyers. But the value of an advertising impression is almost always different to 2 different advertisers. And third, the information that we use to trade stocks is always publicly available, or at least it should be. But the information we use to trade impressions is not always publicly available, and rightfully so, because there are privacy regulations and it's a competitive asset for advertisers. And finally, the return on a stock is always very clear. It's simple. All you have to do is look at the stock price. But the return on an advertising impression is not always clear. For example, if you see an ad online, but you purchase that product offline in a store, that very simple thing can be very hard to track. So, given all of this complexity, it seemed to me that if we have more mathematicians, statisticians, scientists involved, we might unlock the future of advertising. I decided to test this hypothesis and to see if we could get some measurable results. I put together a team of quantitative experts, and I gave them the best targeting technology available. I had them work side by side with advertising experts to execute digital campaigns for 5 global advertisers. Who were these experts? We had Sam and Iman, 2 PhDs, one in biophysics and the other in statistics. They were supported by a team of analysts and myself. And what were the results? On average, we delivered 50% higher ROI on the digital campaigns. And in some cases, we doubled it. This meant that we were delivering 50 to 100% more conversions using the same exact amount of advertising spend. Even better, for some of these campaigns, this now meant that more than twice as many people were finally seeing relevant advertisements, getting us closer to the future of advertising. And this was only after 4 weeks. And the way that scientific approaches work is through experimentation and continuous improvement. With more time, these results would likely be even higher. So how did we do it? Well, we found a few places where quantitative experts can make a significant impact. You hear that digital advertising is real-time and that it's automated, but in reality, it is slow and inefficient. We mapped and measured the processes for over 20 campaigns, and we found on average it takes 1 month to set up a digital campaign, and only 1 out of every 5 days are spent on activities that actually improve a campaign's performance. If process experts tackle these inefficiencies, we can all spend a lot more time on activities that make our campaigns better. You also hear that algorithms do everything for you. But in reality, they still require human intervention. A lot of organizations just press go on the algorithms and they walk away. But algorithms can be a bit like one of those robotic vacuums. Most of the time they work great, but every once in a while they get stuck against a wall, and you need a quantitative expert to walk over, pick it up, and set it back in the right direction. You also hear about all of the data that's available, but you don't hear about all of the noise. With all of this data, it is extremely easy to draw the wrong conclusions and to make the wrong decisions. In one campaign, we found an algorithm that had been set up using a metric, clicks, that for this campaign, we found had no correlation to sales. This meant that the most advanced targeting technology available was being used to target completely random people. Instead, we found a metric that was correlated to sales, and we maximized performance against it. So we have all of these opportunities to make advertising better. Why hasn't it been done already? Well, simply put, it's difficult and it's expensive to hire quantitative people and to train people in these new skills. But think about the upside it can have for companies. The global advertising industry is worth over $500 billion and growing every year. Digital makes up about 1/4 of that, but soon all areas of advertising will be impacted by the same digital technology. For those companies that invest in quantitative skills, they will not only keep up with this change, They will also position themselves to achieve a 50 to 100% higher ROI or more on their share of a $500 billion investment. But more importantly, think about the impact it can have on consumers, on all of our lives. In a few years' time, you may be sitting at home watching TV, and the commercials you see will be speaking directly to you. It'll feel a lot less like advertising, more like a personalized service, something that makes your life easier. It may even feel like your favorite magazine or blog, curated content you actually enjoy. That will be the future of advertising. We need more quantitative experts to get there. Thank you.